It made the Russians look stupid. It was voted the worst combat vehicle of the year. The Ukrainian army destroyed thousands of them, as if in jest. What was this fighting vehicle that made Russia look so small? What was the fault of Russia's worst combat vehicle? Let's find out together. There is nothing worse. MT-LB-2M-3 armored vehicle. At the beginning of the war, the Russians were very confident. They thought that the Ukrainian people would welcome them as liberators. But they met resistance they never expected. Because of this strategic mistake the Russians made, the war lasted and continues to last for years.
Suka.
The second mistake the Russians made was to rely too much on their weapons of war. Many of their weapons of war were from the Soviet era, 30-40 years old. Although they tried to modernize these weapons, they were not successful. Because the war was still going on, so they didn't have enough time, and apparently they never will. The third mistake the Russians made was to import weapons from South American countries. This gave Ukraine confidence and humiliated the Russians. Because by all accounts, Russia was one of the most powerful military powers in the world. The world's largest arms exporter after the United States. The Russians thought they could win the war with Soviet-era weapons. One of those weapons, and the worst one, was the MT-LB battleship. In the war between Russia and Ukraine, land and air battles were of great importance. Because Ukraine was located within Russian territory. Especially ground operations played a critical role in the war. The Russians attacked Avdiivka, a fortress in the Donetsk Oblast in eastern Ukraine, with the battleship MT-LB. They carried out the offensive with the old technology MT-LB battleship, which was equipped with sub-25mm automatic cannons, and the technology of this battleship was quite old. Therefore, the Russians failed in their attacks. The Russian MT-LB-2M-3 armored models have been seen many times since the Ukrainian war. The strange thing is that these battleships have been modernized in a strange way. In other words, the failure of the Russians, the world's largest military power, to modernize old technology was considered strange by the world public. So much so that many mocked this comical mistake of the Russians, saying that the Russians were digging trenches to protect themselves from Ukrainian drones and did not have time to modernize their weapons. Recent media reports stated that turrets were added to the hull of the MT-LB-2M-3 armored vehicles under the guise of modernization. However, the turret is completely integrated with the body of the armored vehicle that carries it. This situation causes the shots to be inaccurate. There is an aerodynamic error in modernization. This modernization work, which was carried out in order to be able to launch 1.5 killing shells at a distance of 2,286 meters at a speed of 300 rounds per minute per gun, was obviously not successful. In the spring, the Russians started to assemble old and strange vehicles in their warehouses. They took out the old turrets in their warehouses and started to match them. This was interpreted as a desperate attempt by the Russians to lose their wide range of modern combat vehicles. Indeed, it is necessary to prepare for war from the beginning. Preparations made later are of no use. If your weapons are old, then you need good tactics. The Russian army has neither of these two concepts because they have also lost their modern armored vehicles. With effective moves, the Ukrainian army managed to destroy the modern armored vehicles in the hands of the Russians. We understand that the importance of modern weapons in wars is as important as the strategies determined. Otherwise, the Russians would not have lost their modern and perhaps decisive weapons. It is understood that the MT-LB armored vehicles from the 1950s and the older 2M-3 turrets were minimally integrated. It is obvious that the technicians who integrated them were not experts, because they mounted the 2-ton turrets on the armored vehicles without mixing the hydraulic and electrical systems, and without rebalancing the center of mass. The unbalanced battleships could not fire accurately and became easy targets. There is no forgiveness or compensation for the slightest mistake in war. The unstable armored vehicle shook a lot while firing and naturally missed the target. This is disadvantageous for the vehicle firing when the target cannot be hit. If you can't hit the target, you become a target. Another problem for the MT-LB armor is its thin armor. With 4mm thick armor, this vehicle is insufficient against the 53mm thick armored vehicles in the Ukrainian Army's inventory. The biggest disadvantage of thin armor is that you cannot get close enough to attack the enemy. When the distance does not hold, the attack causes more harm than good. Better integration in such armored vehicles means less vibration. Less vibration, in turn, increases target accuracy. One noteworthy detail of the MT-LB armored vehicle is that the tubular base of the armored vehicle is not visible. Most probably, the technicians removed it or buried it in the passenger compartment. Actually, this is a good start. Thus, they may have taken an important step in ensuring the stability of the armored vehicle. But it is still an inadequate move in the face of modern armored vehicles. Another problem with the MT-LB armored vehicle is the cooling of the weapons. The weapons on state-of-the-art armored vehicles are cooled both with water and air. However, older armored vehicles have only air cooling. Air cooling is only effective up to a certain point. Overheated turrets become unable to fire. Isn't it a big problem when the turrets can't fire in an intense battle? What is this MT-LB armor? It is a 1950s old technology armored vehicle designed by the Soviet Union and introduced into the Army inventory. Weighing 11.9 tons, this armored vehicle is 6.45 meters long, 2.86 meters wide, and 1.86 meters high. Operated by 2 crew members, the MT-LB armored vehicle is armed with a 7.62 mm PKT machine gun. It is powered by YAMZ 238 V8 diesel engine. Its operational range is 500 kilometers. Its maximum speed is 30 to 61 kilometers per hour. To understand why the MT-LB armored battleship is disadvantageous, let's take a look at the characteristics of the M3 Bradley armored battleship supplied to the Ukrainian Army by the United States. The M3 Bradley armored battleship, also used by the U.S. Army, was used in the Gulf and Iraq wars and achieved great success. Weighing 28 tons, the battleship is 6.45 meters long, 328 centimeters wide, and 297 centimeters high. It is controlled by a crew of 3 plus 2. Its main armament is a 25mm M242 automatic cannon, with dual TOW anti-tank missile launchers. The 7.62mm M240 machine gun is located in the turret mount. It has a Cummins VTA 903 engine. This engine is very powerful and state-of-the-art. It has a 746-liter tank capacity. It has a 480-kilometer range of movement. Its top speed is 66 kilometers per hour. Finally, it has high maneuverability. Its armament includes both air and water-cooled systems. As it can be seen, the Ukrainian army is crushing the Russian army with the latest weapon systems purchased from many countries. The technology of the weapons used in wars is very important. Weapons with old technology have a great disadvantage in conflicts. We are waiting for you to express your opinions on this subject in the comments section. If you want more of this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, press the like button, and follow our channel.